That night, I was alone in my office, trying to finish my work. Towards the end of the day, that damn manager suddenly piled a bunch of papers on my desk, and since I didn't have anything planned for tonight anyway, I might as well stay and get some more done. I took a deep breath and focused my eyes back on the screen. Suddenly, all the overhead lights went out, plunging the entire floor into darkness. My heart was pounding. I quickly pulled out my mobile phone and tried to use its flash to illuminate my surroundings. Just as I was about to light up the screen of my mobile phone, the lights in the office came back on without warning. I was about to breathe a sigh of relief when I saw the lights begin to flicker wildly, as if some kind of force was manipulating them. The glass of water on the next table suddenly slipped and shattered on the floor with a deafening crash. Shaking with fear, I stood up and practically ran for the exit. The sound of my footsteps echoed down the corridor, seemingly interspersed with some other subtle sound. I quickened my pace, an inexplicable panic rising in my heart, as if something was following me from behind. I pulled out my mobile phone and shakily dialed my boyfriend's number. "Baby, I'm at the office. I'm so scared." I tried my best to keep my panicked voice down. On the other end of the line, he looked surprised but quickly calmed down. "Don't be scared, honey. I'll be right there. Wait for me." Having calmed down a little, I continued running towards the stairs. I didn't dare take the lift. Instead, I chose the fire escape. After going down the stairs, I pushed open the door to the hall and finally saw the familiar scene outside. Everything seemed so quiet under the lights, and the voices in my ears had disappeared. I looked up and saw my boyfriend's car parked outside the door. He rushed out of the car and looked anxiously down the hall. I waved at him and ran quickly, feeling a slight sense of security. "How did you get here so quickly?" I asked. He hugged me gently. "What just happened?" I replied as calmly as I could. "Maybe something went wrong with the building's circuits and it scared me. Maybe I'm just overreacted." He smiled and reassured me. "I'm glad you're okay, so don't work late tonight." I got into the car, and as the familiar music played, my heart finally began to calm. When I think about what I have just experienced, I feel a little unbelievable. Just then my mobile phone rang. When I picked it up and looked at it, I was surprised to see my boyfriend's name on the display. Filled with doubt, I answered it, and his familiar voice came from the other end of the line. "Honey, I just missed your call. What's wrong?" I froze and slowly looked up at the man in the driver's seat. His hands were still gripping the steering wheel, but his face was already turned towards me, those eyes staring straight at me in the dimly lit car, the corners of his mouth slowly forming a strange, twisted smile.
Since the day my mother died, my world has turned gray. It was the 5th night, and I was still drowning in endless grief, struggling to sleep each night with alcohol and tears. I looked at my mom's photo from time to time, my heart filled with questions and pain. Why couldn't I dream about her? I cried and prayed to the heavens to let me see my mother again, even if it was only in my dreams. On the 6th night, my prayers seemed to be answered. In my dream, I saw my mother, wearing her favorite red jumper, sitting on the bed with her back to me. Her voice was as soft as ever. "Baby, come here and let me hold you." Even though I knew it was just a dream, I couldn't help but shed tears of joy. I ran towards her with all my strength, but found that my feet seemed to be held firmly in place by some force, unable to take even one step forward. Mom's voice became a little anxious. "Baby, don't you want to see me?" I struggled desperately, walking to her step by step. Just as I was about to get to my mom, I felt a strong force tugging at my arm, and I woke up with a jolt, realizing that my dog was clinging to my sleeve and pulling hard back. I sat up and calmed myself down, then hugged the dog. I must have frightened him with my crying in the dream. I don't blame him, but I was a bit sad that I didn't get to see my mom a bit more in the dream. The next night, I had the same dream. My mother's voice was still calling to me, and I tried with all my strength to get closer to her. But at the last moment, I woke up, and the dog was tearing at my sleeve again. On the third and fourth nights, the dream repeated itself every day, and I began to get upset. I tried to keep the dog quiet, even locking him out of the door, but his violent barking kept waking me from my dream. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I sent the dog to a friend's house early in the morning, asking her to take care of the dog for one night. I longed to talk to my mom, even if it was a ghost. It was better than this pining. Either way, it was my own mother. That night, I went to bed early, and soon I was in dreamland. Sure enough, Mom appeared again, sitting on the edge of the bed with her head down, looking extremely lonely. I tried to walk towards her, still hampered, but much easier than before. Finally, I reached the bedside and cried out in tears, "Mom!" I cried and hugged her tightly. Mom's embrace as warm as before, her hand gently stroking my back. "Oh, my baby, I finally got you." I couldn't stop the tears. Just at that warm moment, her voice suddenly became shrill. "Baby, baby." She giggled and whispered in my ear, "Of course you're my baby. But did I ever say I was your mother?" I recently moved into a new rental property. Before I checked it out, I was worried that it would be in terrible condition because I'm on a really tight budget. Surprisingly, what I found was a nice, cozy flat, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. The landlord, a middle-aged man who looked grim and eccentric, was unexpectedly nice. He even gave me a complete set of furniture, with just one small request from that frozen face. The furniture was not to be moved. That's not a problem for me at all. So I signed the contract and moved in straight away that afternoon. I only brought one small suitcase with a few items of clothing and personal belongings. After unpacking these simple things, I tidied up my room, had a nice bath, and went to bed early. But it was not a good night's sleep. I kept having the same dream in which a girl kept saying to me, "I want to sleep on the top bunk." This dream kept repeating itself, and for several days, I dreamt of this girl every night, always repeating the same words. This went on for a week in a row, and I started to get a bit scared. Had something unusual happened here? Out of curiosity and fear, I called the landlord and asked him about the history of the house. The landlord's silence made me even more uneasy, and he finally spoke up and asked, "So, do you mind if she switches to the top bunk?" What? I was confused and even wondered if the landlord had misunderstood my question. "I'm talking about my dream." The landlord's voice was as calm as ever, and he asked the question again. "So, do you mind if she switches to the top bunk?" "No, I don't. Sleep wherever she likes, as long as I can keep that damn dream away from me." The landlord's phone suddenly hung up. I dialed again, but there was no answer. Forget it. It's not like fixing the plumbing. What's the point of asking the landlord for help? I scoffed at myself and decided to Google it to see if anyone else had a similar experience. Maybe it's because I haven't slept well the last few days. I fell asleep unexpectedly, without noticing. And in my dream, that girl appeared again, chasing after me, kept saying, I wanted to sleep on the top bunk. I turned around and fell off the sofa, waking up from my dream. A thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Top bunk. I look over to where my bed is. It's an oddly shaped wooden bed with all the space underneath blocked off. I hadn't touched the bed since I moved in because the landlord said not to, and also because it made it easier for house cleaning. I rushed over and ripped off the bed cover and moved the mattress to one side, only to find that the bed was stuck to the floor. At that moment, I noticed a tiny crack in the wooden bedpan, and slowly, I leaned down and pressed my eyes to the crack. Then, I see a decayed body of a woman under the bed, eyes wide open, staring straight at me through the crack. I screamed in horror and fell to the floor. Just then, I heard the sound of a key in the door. Maybe it was the landlord coming to help us switch places.